Hi, I'm Kim.
And I'm Brad.
We're 6260 Haunted, California, and today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of the Port Orleans Riverside.
So, we got a lot of pros, a lot of cons, and some of them could be really interesting.
So, as a disclaimer, Brad and I will say we are very nostalgic about this resort. It's the first resort that we'd ever stayed on way back when, our first family trip to Walt Disney World. So for us, it's special, but we'll still be able to see both sides of this resort.
Yeah, it's actually the first property resort we stayed at.
Yes.
So it does have a special heartfelt meaning to us. But we wanted to be as fair as possible. So let's go ahead and start with our first pro, which is
the theming and scenery. Port Orleans Riverside is just gorgeous.
Yeah, it's one of those beautiful resorts you can just walk around and you're just enclosed by the scenery. You almost forget that you're at Disney World sometimes.
This is one of those things where the outdoor beauty of Florida really shines through. There's so many outdoor paths. You got the Sassagoula River, and you've got the theming of New Orleans, and it's just amazing.
Okay, let's go to our second pro, which is...
Okay, so for us, we call this one full section the Old Man Island because there's so much to do out there. It's incredible. It's over 3.5 acres of basically a themed island after Tom Sawyer.
Yeah, so you got the pool, which is fashioned after old fashioned swimming hole with a sawmill water slide, which looked really cool.
This is like one of those things when you're reading Tom Sawyer as a kid, you're like, wow, this is like straight out of my imagination. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and that pool was actually really busy and really looked like a lot of fun. Unfortunately, we didn't get to use it when we were there because we were just exhausted from the parks.
So yeah, this is definitely a place you could spend a non-park day. But they also have the playground for kids, which is really cute. And it's got like its old, the water wheel type thing on the playground. And it just is fun.
And something that we have done in the past, which is a pro, is there's the fishing hole.
So they have a place where you could rent fishing poles and buy the little worm bait. It's a catch and release, but you know what? We have really fond memories of when Hayden was like 4 or 5 years old fishing there for the first time. We're going to start a photo of that up there. This is one of those memories for us that will last a lifetime.
Yeah, we didn't catch anything, but it was still a lot of fun, and we went the wrong time today, to be fair.
But if that doesn't appeal to you, just as a FYI, they also have a full-blown catch and release fishing excursion on the Sassagoula River.
Okay, another pro is they have campfires on the bayou.
Okay, that's kind of cool. I mean, they have it at every resort, but it's still one of those fun Disney things to do.
Mm-hmm. And of course, talking about Disney fun things to do, they have a lot of resorts, is movie under the stars.
Okay, that is such a fun way to get fresh air, get outside, get some energy out for the younger kids that still need to run around while, maybe the family just needs a little downtime to decompress from the parks.
And if you want more exercise, of course, there's the Surrey bike rentals.
And they also have regular bikes too.
Yeah, so they got, a couple ways. You can get four people on one and have one person pedal.
Okay, that's like the sucker kid. Or the parent and the kids are in there or whatever. So I think they come in like 4 or 6 people. Surrey bikes. They've had those at quite a few resorts. But this one, you get to go down the path by the river, and it's really scenic if you want to do that.
And say you don't want to pedal at all. Well, they got the horse-drawn carriage ride along the Sassagoula River.
That is an additional charge if you decide to do that. I really wanted to, especially at night, because I just think it would have been beautiful. Somebody didn't want to go on with that one. But anyways, I just think if you want a nice romantic carriage ride, or as a family you just want to relax and do something special and different that you just couldn't do anywhere, just any resort, that's kind of a nice thing that Disney offers.
So the kids are not into horse rides. Well, there's also the Medicine Show Arcade.
Their arcades at Disney are pretty cool. They have some old-fashioned arcade games. Brad and I have walked through them a few times, and they have stuff from like our childhood.
Yeah, and there were some big games there, like the big giant Pac-Man type of games, those old games that were we're like, ooh. Yeah, I wish I was a kid back then doing those. There's also boat rides.
So the French Quarter has more of a Mardi Gras theming to it, and if you want to go down there and enjoy that side, plus that's where you get your bayonets if you wanted them. They don't have them at the Port Orleans Riverside, so we might put that as a pretty early con.
But if you want a longer boat ride, you can go all the way down to Disney Springs on it.
That is a really relaxing ride. It takes longer to get there than by bus, for sure. But yeah, I feel like after a long day in the parks, just a scenic boat ride. At night, it was gorgeous. You also go by Saratoga Springs where you could see the treehouse villas. And I just love it.
Yeah, it's a great ride. We actually had people going on it, just go on it for a boat ride up from Disney Springs and back. Okay, so talking about water, well, there's lots of pools.
Okay, good thing, because this is a big resort. There are 5 leisure pools, plus the pool at the Old Man Island.
Yeah, so, I mean, really, you get a lot of different types, what you want, and they're not too far distance from every different area of the resort.
And just as a little thing, one of the pools is where they do the movies underneath the stars. So you, like if some of the family wanted to watch the movies under the stars and the other part wanted to go swimming, you make everybody happy.
Perfect. Also, the great thing about Port Orleans Riverside, it is dog friendly.
Okay, so that's a pro or con. I'm just going to put that out there because if you have an allergy, dogs may not be your favorite place. If you love dogs like we do, this could be your jam.
Just make sure you do check the restrictions on the website before you go, because there is a lot of restrictions on the dogs, so it's just something to be aware of. Another great pro that we actually enjoyed about this resort is the River Mill Food Court.
Okay, we love this because it is like a food court and there's so many different options. So if it's the end of the day, you have picky eaters and, you know, or somebody's in the mood for one thing versus another. Like somebody wants pizza, somebody wants, I don't know, spaghetti, something a little bit more. We didn't check out all. Plus there's a good bakery window by itself, and then you kind of all come together and check out. And I like those kind of places.
Yeah, it has a lot of seating, a lot of different choices. So yeah, it's a great place to sit down and eat with your family and grab something quick to eat if you really wanted to.
Of course, you have Boat Rights Dining Hall, which is your table service, which is kind of nice. It's more Louisiana Cajun type food. And it's more of a, you know, it's nice to have a sit down option. We're going to do a full review on that, so you'll check out for that video coming out soon.
Just as a quick spoiler, it's great value. So our next pro is?
The River Roost Bar has Louisiana-inspired drinks. They also have some appetizers, but even cooler than this is they have Yeehaw Bob Jackson. He's a piano player, very entertaining, and this is a pretty big lounge. He packs the place.
Oh, he packs the lounge and the hallways, believe it or not.
True. So he's there on Wednesday to Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Subject to change because he's not always there. He also has his own Facebook group, if you can imagine.
Yeehaw Bob's got it going on.
So the great thing about nights that Yeehaw Bob Jackson is there at the River Roost Bar is there's a lot to do. The whole place is singing along, having the time of their life, having good drinks, good fun. But we recommend if you're going to go to get there really early.
Yeah, it's like we said, it's packed. And really, we've heard people staying there just for Yeehaw Bob.
Right? That's amazing.
Yep. Let's talk about our next pro, which is the Royal Guest Rooms.
Okay, so that's the rooms we've stayed in. We've done a whole review and room tour. We're going to link it down below. But really, compared to the everyday rooms, there's a lot more going for it. We're just gonna put it that way if we're gonna compare to a normal room. We went over to the Alligator Bayou to see some rooms. My mom we'll get into more of this later, had issues with her EVC over there, so we ended up not staying in that kind of room. But when we walked in, it was we'll get into the cons.
Yeah, that'll be in our cons. Great thing about the Alligator Bayou rooms, they do have a 5th sleeper room, though.
So it's one of those pull-down Murphy beds or child bunks that come out of what looks like a cabinet. They say they're for kids, but really Brad's laid down on those kind of beds before, and he's fit fine. He's taken naps on them.
I'm 6'2", so that gives you an idea. And also talking about the royal rooms, just a quick hint on that, these are the rooms that we do judge other Disney rooms by. So
non-DVC rooms.
Yeah, so really check out the review down below. All right, so another pro about Port Orleans, they've got 4 different bus stops.
So that means there should be a bus stop relatively close to where your room is versus going all the way to the front of the resort.
Which is great. And we'll get into the negatives of that here in just a few minutes. Okay, the other pro, which is a great pro, in my opinion, is the big general store.
So that feels really well themed. I love how, I mean, this is one of the bigger gift shops I've seen on Disney properties for a non-DVC resort.
And really, for a non-DVC resort, they had a lot more DVC type items in it, we noticed.
Like sides of food, like snacks, foods, things like that. They had more of a grocery store section than I feel like other non-DVC resorts have.
Yeah, and it's great. They have a lot of different things for the theme of towards the Port Orleans Riverside. So if you want cornbread, hey, they got it. All right, let's go into the unfortunates, which is the cons. First con is this is a huge resort.
So this has a lot of guests, which means they have to have a lot of bus stops. That's always a drawback for us because when you're coming or going from the parks, either there might be a lot of people that you don't always get on the bus, especially for theme parks. It seems like at the end of the night or beginning of the day, we'd have to wait for several buses before we could get on.
Yeah. And then, unfortunately, talking about those outdoor bus stops, it's all outdoors for the most part. Anything you're going to go to is from buildings. Once you get out of the building, you're in open. So Florida, rain, yeah, you're going to get it wet. And trust me, we got wet a few times.
This is a really big resort, so there's a lot of outdoor walking. So if you maybe have a harder time walking, this might be a really difficult resort for you.
And talking about difficult walking and things that people need, obviously some people need ECVs. And if you don't know what ECV is, it's those little
scooters is what other people call them too.
Or even if you're in a wheelchair or something like that, this could very well apply. It's very hard to get around the resort because it's so large.
So our experience is my mom hurt her knee and she had to use this ECV our last visit. So we got a lot of firsthand experience from her point of view. This resort was built back in 1991, so that was before some of the current ADA requirements.
And quite frankly, where there was a whole bunch of ECVs around too. So one thing that we did find as a difficulty is it's a long way around to get to ramps and to the elevators.
So a lot of times we'd have to go down a hallway around and about, and then once you got down to the bottom floor or where you're going, then you'd have to kind of backtrack because there was only steps on the way down before that.
Yeah, quite frankly, one of the rooms you could literally walk out onto the main pathway, but the ECV took you 5 minutes to go around and get around all the trails to find that ramp so you can get it down.
So that's a problem. And it's also sometimes a problem with the buses because the buses at Disney World only accommodate 2 EVCs at a time.
And so this is where the 4 stops come in. So if there's already a couple ECVs on there, you may not get on that bus at that time because they're full.
Yeah, for quite a while.
Yeah, and we did run into this at the resort because we were getting on at the main bus stop.
So we stayed at a few resorts before this, but I feel like this was a resort that we felt the most impact. Now, of course, we stayed at the Boardwalk Villas before, and we also stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge. So, I mean, yes, we're talking about deluxe resorts versus a moderate resort, just to keep in mind, but we were greater impacted with the ECV there.
Okay. Another negative is with ECVs is there's no outdoor plugins, so you're going to have to bring those inside the charge.
Yeah, a lot of resorts have those outdoor electrical outlets so you could plug in and don't have to bring the ECV in the room. So when we were staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge and also Boardwalk Villas, there were electrical outlets in the hallway that you could store outside, have more room in the room. But actually, this was a huge drawback at the Port Orleans Riverside. Because these rooms tend to be smaller, there were certain rooms, like we went to go look at the Alligator Bayou rooms, and it got to the point where she couldn't get the ECV in the room very well, and it was taking up the whole room, and she couldn't really walk around or back up well, that we had to change rooms.
Okay. So yeah, just be aware of that. And talking about the rooms and the ECV being built in 1991, these rooms are aged.
Yes. Okay, so these rooms have their air conditioner units inside the room, like the old-fashioned, you saw a lot of these. Yeah, like you saw a lot of this in the 80s and 90s, it feels like.
Yeah, so those can be really loud. They're taking up room, and it's just something to be aware of, and that's kind of one of the drawbacks. Also, talking about the rooms is your view.
Okay, so this resort, I feel like this is the biggest deal out of any resort we've stayed at Walt Disney World. We don't usually upgrade for a room view at many resorts. We feel like we're not there enough but this was one of the rooms where prior we'd had a room that was a river view, and it was just gorgeous to wake up to and to look out. And so we figured, we're going to a moderate resort. First time we brought my mom with us there. She's gonna have her own room. We thought it would just be kind of a nice way to wake up and enjoy and just get a little bit more of that atmosphere. We're gonna show you, first of all, we got our regular room. When we checked in, it was a Riverview room in the Magnolia Bend. So these two pictures show what my mom's view from her room would have looked like with the two huge trees blocking the way. And this third picture is what Brad, Hayden, and I's room would have looked like with, like, you looked over some bushes, and if you went out on, like, the common walkway balcony and you looked over and you're like, well, maybe way down there might be some river. It's a stretch. So because the whole room, literally both of her whole windows would have been covered by the trees that we showed you, we went back to guest services real quick. And in guest services, we showed them the pictures, and we said we paid for Riverview, and all you see is a tree. And they said, oh yeah, we know this. It's if you'd like a refund of the difference of the price of the room, or we can move you. Well, we decided to move.
Which we ended up going to Alligator Bayou. And of course we ran into problems with the ECV there.
Tons of problems with the ECV. That was one that was really hard to, we had to go 2 buildings down, up around ramps. It was nuts. And there was nowhere to plug outside, and in the room she couldn't get in.
And really those rooms, like we said, are extremely dated. And overall...
Well, I have a picture of that view that you'll see. And once again, you're like, maybe over the top of the bushes, there might be, okay. So once again, they call that a river view. And so we decided, once again, with the ECV problems, we decided to go to the front, and we said, all right, we'll pay for the royal room and we'll upgrade the difference. At this point, we're just done. And we'll get a standard view. We're done with this river view thing. And plus they didn't have any river view left. So
and really the standard view was for us okay. It wasn't.
We actually had a good view of the pool, one of the leisure pools.
Yeah, so that was fine, and it was actually the pool that we could see movies in the Star. But talking about those pool rooms is that we one time had one of those rooms by the pool. It does get loud in those rooms on the bottom.
But literally, we were right up against the pool on that one.
So it's something, if you're right about that pool, it may be great for some people who have little kids going out there, but if you're trying to get to sleep and the kids are playing in there, it may be a little loud. The biggest drawback for us at this resort is obviously what we're talking about was the age when it was built in 1991. Some of the rooms feel very dated, that they're dark, and unfortunately the footage that I took of the Alligator Bayou room, we lost it somehow. Ouch. But there was a lot of browns and just dark. It didn't feel bright in the room at all. It
didn't look anything like the pictures if you went on the website for the resort on Disney's website. It looked nothing like that.
Yeah.
It looked like a really outdated Holiday Inn room with very minimal theming.
Yeah, if you really want Disney theming, we're definitely going to recommend the Royal rooms, because those have the subtle Disney theming. You feel like you're at Disney. They're bright. They were remodeled about 10 years ago to the Royal rooms, and we do enjoy them. They may need a little refresh.
Kind of in general with the other type of rooms, the non-royal guest rooms, we feel like those rooms really need a good fresh paint. They need some flooring. They just need some TLC.
So that's something to be very aware of when you're going in there. It's not going to be a new Disney room. It is a moderate value Disney resort. So it's kind of a weird trade-off on that.
It is kind of a weird trade-off, because I think we've talked about this a bunch between us, as we felt like Disney might have missed the boat a little bit, where they could have refreshed, maybe throw in some more Princess and the Frog theming, things like that when they were closed down for the pandemic. We just wish we could have seen a little bit of that.
So, tired of hearing cons? I am. If this video is being helpful,
please like,
subscribe,
and follow along with our Ohana.
So overall, what is our feeling about Port Orleans Riverside?
Honestly, this is one room. I love this resort. I feel like it has a lot to offer for guests.
It's a resort you really could spend a day, take a resort day, and spend the whole day at the resort.
Or even just hop the boat down to Disney Springs and then, do a combo day.
Even with the cons of it feeling older as an older resort and not as refreshed, we do love this resort.
I know that we talk about cons, but obviously you guys are watching these videos for the pros and cons.
And we really wanted to make sure everything is addressed for the cons because there are going to be cons.
And it really, if you stay at this resort, we highly, highly recommend those royal guest rooms.
Yes. So, have you stayed at Port Orleans Riverside? Please comment down below and let us know what you think about it. So with that, I think it's time for us to say goodbye and
Find your magic. Bye, everyone.